It's the world's biggest island and potentially its biggest problem.
If you were to melt the whole Greenland ice sheet here, we're talking about around 7 meters sea level rise.
Global warming isn't a theory here, it's life.
This is ground zero for climate change here.
We're on a journey through an ancient land giving a glimpse of our future. Some fear the change and some can't wait.
It would be nicer to be warmer. Yeah, I could use some of that.
Now, it might seem strange in a place like this to be talking about global warming and climate change when there's still so much ice and so much snow and it's still so cold. But here's the thing. A rise in temperature of just 1 degree can literally mean the difference between ice and water. And in Greenland, the melting ice and warming water are creating winners as well as losers. 10 years ago, we saw how farmers were cashing in on warmer seasons. Today, there's a surprising new boom on the top of the world.
470 grams. Climate change take many surprising ways, I guess.
Adam Lubert loves his island home. From the glaciers and ice sheet that cover most of Greenland, to the northern lights that appear each autumn as if by magic. He reveres his Inuit heritage and the wonder of Arctic wildlife, from reindeer to muskox. But lately his Inuit heart has been breaking, like the glaciers.
Ilatu awatangissaqarluni taamatut kusanartiisum malualu silanna аллангуартарнаа ингамми соммерсэрмиталлу qanu аллангуартортиису qalipaatta аллангуартортаартиккалуттуиннэрпу тава ила суккасоорусуарма ааккиарторлу тассани qamuna ilaatium malunnertorpu.
Adam lives in Kangerlussuaq, a town of 500 people just inside the Arctic Circle. In World War II, the Americans built an airbase here. It slowly turned this hunting ground into Greenland's international hub. Most visitors just pass through here on the way to the main tourist destinations. But for Adam, it's the best place to see what's coming for the planet.
I have easily access to 3 big glaciers. This is very easy to see the change of the climatic change, everyday landscape, the vegetation.
This is the only place you can drive to the massive ice cap that covers more than 3/4 of Greenland. Adam has spent decades taking people out to see it. So you've had a fairly unique view of all this, haven't you?
Yeah, more than 300 days a year going up there.
So you've been there thousands of times over 35 years.
Yeah.
That's quite a good look at how it's changed then.
Yeah.
Since his childhood in the 1950s, the average temperature has risen 1.5 degrees. That's turning the land bone dry. It's a sandy desert alongside melting ice.
We can see that change, the climatic change, like last year we have no rain in the summer. if you look here to the right side, you can see the lake sinking.
Yeah, and you've had some bushfires too.
Yeah, this is very unusual. Some hunters difficult to find some reindeer in this area because the heavy smell of the bush fire is a very strong smell. I know the reindeer and the wildlife doesn't like it.
25 kilometres from town is our first stop, Russell Glacier, one of nearly 100 big glaciers that flow down from the ice sheet.
7 years ago, where we're standing on here, we cannot see the mountain behind us. The glacier was closer and very taller. Between 2012 and 2015, the glacier behind us lost 30% less. So we can see how fast the change here.
Does it make you sad when you see the changes like this?
Yeah, even for me.
Adam hasn't just witnessed the changes with his eyes. For 35 years, he's been documenting them through his lens, building up a rare and comprehensive record. In a time of balance, this carving, when huge chunks fall from the glacier face, should be offset by ice moving down from the sheet behind it. But for decades now, he's seen a system out of kilter. The ice is disappearing and the land is changing.
Now it's autumn. The bush growing earlier, and now is where they're going bigger. When we change a little bit of the temperature, they have a big effect here in the Arctic.
The main change is on the ice sheet, better known as the ice cap. It's so vast that nobody lives in Greenland's interior. In 1999, the road to Russell Glacier was extended to the ice cap's edge. At 38 kilometres, this is Greenland's longest road.
This is end of the road.
The end of the road.
Yeah.
This is a bit chillier up here.
Yeah.
The walk from the car park to the ice cap is getting ever longer. This area's gone down the way.
Yeah. This is when you can see it here on the big ice, going deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
After I think 12 years, the area sunk nearly 180 meters lower.
The ice cap is a holdover from the last ice age. Elsewhere in Europe and North America, giant glaciers like this melted 10,000 years ago. Here, Arctic temperatures preserved it. What melted in summer was replenished by winter snow.
This is ice on.
So actually on the ice sheet now?
Yeah.
Okay, freshly covered with snow.
Yeah. The first snow this year.
Since summer? Okay.
Yeah.
So the melting season is over?
Yeah.
For now?
For now.
The problem now is that the ice cap is shrinking. Every year is different, but most years it's losing more ice in the warm months than it gains in the colder months. The reason that's a big problem is that the cap is so incredibly big. We're standing on 8% of the entire world's freshwater.
From here is not the longest part. From north to south is 2,700 kilometers long ice sheet, and the widest part is 1,500 kilometers wide, 3.5 kilometers thick ice.
The only way to try to grasp its size is to see it from the air. As soon as you rise over Sluiswak, you see giant crevasses and massive rivers of meltwater. The cap is so vast it will never melt entirely, but it's big enough that even small changes on the surface can push up sea levels around the world. And since 2004, the melt has been accelerating fast. The US space agency NASA estimates it's been losing 30 billion tonnes more every year. Thomas Yule Pedersen is a senior scientist at the Greenland Climate Research Centre.
The ice sheet has always been melting. There's always been a melting season, but that melting season seemed to dramatically increase. So it starts melting earlier, and the melt continues for further into the autumn every year. Right? So, and last year there was a very high melt season, for instance, and it started very early. It is telling us that climate change is real. There's no doubt about that.
Climate change skeptics do cast doubt, pointing out that the cap grew slightly this season thanks to record snowfall. But that was caused by record hurricanes. A series of superstorms in the Caribbean sent record precipitation all the way to the Arctic.
It's the same trend you see not only in Greenland but in many places around the world, where more numerous hurricanes, larger hurricanes, droughts, floodings, all these things. It's all signs of a changing climate. The ice sheet is comprised of old snow, so new snow or more snow on it will of course increase the mass of the ice sheet, but if that is followed by increased melting as well in following years, then it will go away as well.
Der var minus 5 grader på jorden, gennemsnit.
At Sluiswak's only high school, the kids learn they're growing up in a very different world. That doesn't mean they're worried.
For eksempel Sluiswak 200 meter. Det vil sige, vi bliver ikke oversvømmet.
My name is Athena and I'm 13 years old. And I like it very much here. There's a lot of nature and stuff. In the summer I go rowing and kayaking or whatever. And me and my friends, we go out camping and stuff. My dad, he's a hunter, so he got all these hunters going hunting and stuff.
What about in winter? What's winter like?
Winter is pretty boring.
So are you worried about rising temperatures, or you think it might be nice to be warmer?
It would be nicer to be warmer. Yeah, I could use some of that.
And that's the irony here. The place most affected by climate change is perhaps the least concerned by it. Most people welcome the extra warmth, nowhere more so than in Greenland's farming heartland. This is the start of a giant fjord through Kusharek in the far south, where Vikings settled 1,000 years ago. Today, thousands still live in isolated hamlets connected only by boat.
The last time I was in this part of Greenland 10 years ago, farmers were getting pretty excited about global warming because rising temperatures meant they could grow a lot more crops and animals. So we're coming back to see how they've fared. And this is still a part of the planet where people are benefiting from climate change.
It's early autumn now and doesn't feel that warm. You can have 4 seasons a day, most of them cold.
Yeah.
Hey, mate. Yeah. How are you?
Well, I'm good.
You haven't changed in 10 years.
You as well.
Oh, you're a liar. Our guide through the fjord will be Kenneth Herf, a former agriculture consultant who's just been named Deputy Foreign Minister.
This is Greenland's sun. The sun is up there, somewhere.
No,
so-
let's have a look around.
Yeah, please. Please come around. Take care, slippery.
A decade ago, in blazing summer sunshine, Kenneth took us down this same fjord to see a farming revolution. Rising temperatures since the mid-90s had extended the growing season by 3 weeks.
Now they are willing to grow turnips and potatoes commercially. And it used to be only for the farm, and now they are willing to invest a lot of money into grow them commercially on a larger scale.
Farmers like Ferdinand Eggerter were rapidly expanding their flocks and planting more fields. The only downside was that summer had been unusually dry. But farmer Eggerter was sceptical that the warming was here to stay. As we retrace our trip to Ferdinand Eggerter's farm, Kenneth tells me life has become harder for Greenland's farmers.
They have had a lot of droughts in the months of May and June. That has become more or less the new normal. I think the climate has become much more fluctuating, actually more fluctuating than I would have expected 10 years ago. So, yeah.
That's difficult for farmers, isn't it?
It's always difficult. That's because you have to adapt all the time, and if you have to use a lot of money on one approach, and then suddenly the whole regime changes, and then you have to do something else, that makes it a challenge.
It's never easy being a farmer.
It's never easy to be a farmer, exactly. It's you're never satisfied.
The farm doesn't get many visitors. It's iced in every winter and supplies are limited. Ferdinand Eggerter can go months only seeing his 2 dogs, 2 sons, his wife, brother and sister-in-law, and their 400 sheep.
Hi, Eric. Hi. Yeah, we met 10 years ago.
He has no problem with isolation. The problem these days, he tells us, is the weird weather. This winter, the snow melted early, then froze.
Instead of being a protected snow cover, it becomes a killing layer of ice.
Summers have been unusually dry with unusually late rain.
We've had a prolonged drought, and until it became totally dry, everything got dry, and then not before we were supposed to make the haymaking, then it started to rain. And that's been quite problematic.
Ferdinand's starting to think there might just be something in this talk of climate change.
Well, you certainly have the most beautiful location for a farm I've ever seen.
Ja, kisi ukiking sort sommeru sorterama uki sorqama sisam sinnerli sormiga narsaatinu imaannaangi torna torsuutiingisam taamatorussu sormiina akon taallinilu siniatuul quperlit akon taal tistak ayerammi
We head back to town, fearful of being caught by ice. Greenland has a long history of carving giant bergs. One of them is believed to have sunk the Titanic in 1912. But the warmer weather appears to be making this worse too.
I believe there is more. There's more ice. Suddenly in summer, sometimes we get enormous amounts, and that just blocks the fjord. We are a little bit lucky today that we went through.
Yeah, so this is actually a good day for ice.
Oh yes, this is a very good day. No problem whatsoever.
There's one more thing Kenneth wants to show us. Ahead of us in Prince William Sound is the southern tip of the ice cap.
Well, where we are right now is probably where the ice cap was 100 years ago, before the real retreat started. They say it started around 1880.
And it's all the way back there now.
It's all these 3 kilometers way back there. This is a new part of Greenland, and now you're inside Greenland. Just look at that piece of rock standing there.
Wow.
We're under the ice sheet. So this is, you see this at the edges, you know, small ice caves being formed.
So how long has this been encased in ice?
Probably at least 6,000 years.
Wow.
Probably, yeah.
And the last
Maybe
2 years.
longer.
It's happening faster than you're used to, even you in your lifetime.
Oh yes, but still we have to take care. It's all being held by a few columns of ice and the rock here, the big rock.
And we still have several tons of ice.
Oh yes, oh yes. So okay. If something starts to crack, we move out, huh?
Don't make any sudden movements.
You know what the blue ice is?
What's that?
That's actually snow that has melted and then re-frozen.
Right.
That's what creates the blue ice.
Uh-huh.
And in a few years you'll look at no longer the blue ice, but actually the blue sky.
Wow.
I sang moon, I sang moon, I sang moon,
The big melt may not have been the boon for farmers that many hoped for. But one group is celebrating. 90% of Greenland's export income comes from fishing. Out of 56,000 people, some 2,000 work on small fishing boats. Hundreds more work for the big fleets and fish processing factories. Andreas Olsen is a fleet manager at the state company Royal Greenland.
In general, we see some higher stocks due to the climate change, or at least due to warmer sea temperatures, but also due to the ice cap melting. And when the ice cap melts, a lot of nutritious water comes down the big fjord systems, which creates optimal conditions for fishery. Yeah?
So with all the bad things happening from climate change, you may be among the winners.
Yeah, at least it looks like that, yeah.
470 grams.
The most remarkable change has been the appearance of mackerel, a warm water fish rarely found in less than 8 degrees. Its mass migration so far north has left scientists stunned.
Nobody had really expected it, but it has gone quite fast.
Tunis Janssen studies schooling fish at the Institute of Natural Resources. He's found himself in the middle of a maritime gold rush.
So in 2011, the first mackerel was caught in Greenland. Within a few years, already in 2014, there was 85,000 tons landed by the fleet. And that's quite a lot. It corresponds to perhaps 20-24% of the national export of Greenland in that particular year.
That's created a whole new industry, and another looks likely to follow.
In the last couple of years, basically at the same time as the mackerel has arrived, bluefin tunas have also entered Greenlandic waters, and they come in as a bycatch while they're trawling for mackerel. And as you see here, and as you're about to smell very soon, is that they are feeding on mackerel. So this is a semi-digested mackerel. Yeah, climate change take many surprising ways, I guess.
Greenland has come to see climate change as both a problem and an opportunity. Each generation has had to learn to survive on scarce resources in a harsh climate. And for centuries, they've adapted to change. Adam Lubert's ancestors moved down from the high Arctic, where they lived off seals and narwhal whales, to the south, where they learned to fish and farm. But he finds it hard to share the joy of a warming climate. On our last day in Kangerlussuaq, he took me to what used to be a deep lake alongside Russell Glacier. It's almost empty.
So just over there, it used to be as high as the glacier.
Yeah.
Now it's all drained away
Yeah.
because the glacier collapsed.
Yeah.
And when did this happen?
Last year in September. This is part of the accelerating with the climatic change, many things like that happening. So this is part of, we can say, former lake, more or less lake like that.
And that's happening all over?
Yeah.
Wow. That's frightening.
Yeah. Sommersuaqaattoq uummatinnik taama misiisimuunga. Sommersuarsuarput kalalnaanittoq aakkiartortoq nunarsuarput sommersuarmi qallersimurup misiisimallutalu sukkasuorsuarma aakkiartoq.